I wanted you to see what Rachel looks like. She's actually right here in the same room with me, but she's going to be doing a lot of the screen sharing for us, so you may not see her. But if I look crazy talking to somebody in the room, there is really somebody there. So, just some quick to-dos on how we're going to do this session. If at any point in time you have a question through any of this, please type it into the chat, and Rachel is monitoring it and will get it to me to try to answer. I'm not going to say that I know the answer to everything, but I'm going to try. So please do that. And if we're at a spot that we need to stop and talk about that, we will. So please feel free to put your questions in there. I think before we get started, Miss Rachel's going to share a poll with us real quick. If you'll go ahead and fill out that poll. And you can go ahead and get the slide up. We're getting there. It's getting pretty close. So while we're doing this, looks like there's about 120 of us in here. We are pretty close to getting everybody in, but we're running about 94% right-handed. Oh, it just went down, 93% right-handed and 7% left-handed. So do what? We're getting close, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
We have 102 of 120.
Okay. So let's just think about that. It doesn't tell us anything about you to be right-handed or left-handed. It's just a preference for how you like to write, right? So a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today is nothing more than a natural preference that you already have. So Rachel, if you'll end that one. We ended up with the 93% right-handed, 7% left-handed. Doesn't really matter which one you write with. It just shows that you have a preference to writing with the other. And then she's going to put up another poll, and it's just going to kind of show you the same thing. There's no right or wrong way for this one, but when you cross your arms, which arm goes on the top? So just do it and just see which one goes on top. Mine, my left ends up on top.
Mine too.
Yours too. Mr. Reggie, what about you?
Cross your arms.
Do it. Cross your arms. Naturally. This is just a natural.
Well, I can't do it naturally now.
All right. We're getting about half of us. Much closer. And look, it's 50-50.
I mean, I could.
No, it feels weird to do the other for me. So it looks like there's a little over 100 of us that have done it, and we're sitting 50-50, 51-49. Let's say 51-49. Okay, so you can go ahead and stop it. So y'all, it ended 52-48 right before she pressed end. Somebody popped in and made it go up percentage a point. So 50-50 on what's natural for you when you do this part of this. Okay, so you've all taken the personality test. Hopefully, you've all taken the personality test, and all those were your preferences towards certain traits or characteristics or things that made you you. Okay, so Miss Rachel's going to share our slide. No, we're 50-50. So
are you doing the poll for what they're?
Do you want to do that one first? Okay, so let's go ahead and get it out of the way to fill out the poll for what you ended up with. We're not going to use it right now. We're going to use it a little bit later. I've got the data as of noon of what you put in the survey, but this should get all of us in. So if you'll just go ahead and tell us where you, what you ended up with. There we go. Now it's going. So if you'll just fill it out and let us know. I'm going to keep talking while you're doing that. Because we're, like I say, we're going to use that a little bit later in the in the presentation. Miss Rachel's going to do us some math and make sure that we're right. So we've got a few objectives, I guess, that we want to try to do today. And so we want to talk about personalities and the science of personalities. It can be really interesting if you get into one of these type subject areas. So you can get off into a whole little rabbit hole learning about all these different personality things. So we're going to talk about some of those things. And then we're going to talk about these different characteristics. So what's the E versus the I, the N versus the S, the F versus the T, or the J versus the P on your test. So we're going to go into some of the details about that. And then while we're doing that, we're going to talk about how all of these different personality types can work together in group settings. Like how can you use what you're learning today to be able to work with somebody else. So the personality test didn't turn off at noon, just the survey. So I saw that on there. It's just the survey. The personality test is still there. You can go back up. It was just a survey that you didn't. We're redoing part of it right here, so you haven't missed anything at all. And then we're gonna try and talk about some of the things that you can do when you're working with a group, say your club officers, your district council, a group project at school, whatever it might be. What are some things that maybe you've learned about yourself and working with people that may not be in the exact same type as you? How can you use some of those things? So y'all, there should be a poll up that you see. If you'll put your stuff in, you'll click the button. You may have to scroll down if you don't see it. It only lets us put 10 in per question, so the other 6 are at the bottom. So you may have to scroll down to see it. I've got 62 of you. There's 140 of us in the room. Yes.
Don't put it in the chat.
Yeah, don't put it in the chat if you don't mind. Can you put it onto the poll? Oh, you have to click 2 types to submit. Okay.
Then we're gonna end.
Okay, so we're going to end polling. Thanks for letting us know. We didn't realize that it did that. So I'm going to use the results of the noon, what I stopped at noon on the other poll. Okay. But it still should be pretty close. So now we're going to go to sharing the slides again. I'm going to get this poll off my screen. Okay, so there's our objectives of what we're going to talk about. So when we talk about personality, what is your definition of personality? What do you say it is? Will you put it in the chat? Just a quick little definition of it. What do you think of when you hear the word personality? That might be a better way to put it. How you act, feel, what makes up a person, what makes you you. Character traits, the way you are. Yep. Attitudes, your choices, what defines you, all those things. Very good, very good. So I looked at multiple different definitions, researchers, the way they define it. And the one that I came up with that I thought was my favorite is it's a combination of the characteristics, traits, or qualities that propel someone to consistently think, feel, and behave in specific ways. And so the consistently think, feel, or behave in those ways is what I liked about it. Okay, so Miss Jana Rachel just told me that she can't see chat. So if there's a certain question there, let me see if I can share it. Let me see if I can get chat pulled up. Okay, I think I can pull it up and watch it. Okay. Tell you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to do this right here. Y'all can still see the screen, correct? Thank you, thank you. Okay, so with that definition, something that makes us consistently think, feel, or behave those ways, okay? Those are the things that make up our personality. But all in all, it goes right back to what we talked about, crossing arms, or are you right-handed or left-handed? It's nothing more than a natural tendency, okay? It's a natural thing. There are no right or wrong personality traits that make you you, okay? So personality traits are usually long-term, stable, and they're not easily changed. Y'all, you're born with many of your personality traits. Now, our environment does play a role in how you express those traits or how you build on those traits, but you're born with many of them. So that's what I want you to get into your thought process, is that this is natural. This is how you are. There you go, nature and nurture. That's right. Half of it's genetics. You can't control that at all. Our other half is our environment and what we're used to seeing every day, okay? So in my studying of all this, I told them I need to change jobs and go into some type of psychology because I think all this is really pretty cool, okay? One of the study of personalities is called personality psychology, okay? And it's just a branch of psychology that studies personalities and what makes people individuals. That's all it is, okay? Our personalities are what make us like all other people. It makes us like some other people, and it makes us like no other person at all. So if you think about it that way, it makes it very exciting to me. Like, I think it's cool because I can make myself like everybody in some way and then like nobody in other ways just because of my personality. So we can break down personality psychology into even more intricate details that people study, and it's called trait psychology or trait theory. There's lots of different theories that go in with these traits. They use different measurements of these traits to show habitual patterns, thoughts, emotions, okay? But many of these traits are consistent over time. They're stable over time. They differ for everybody, and our situations can also influence the behavior that we show. So think of traits, okay, different than what you would think of as a state of mind. A state of mind could be, you know, I'm in a party state of mind. I'm going on vacation, right? That's a state of mind. I could be, you know, in a bad mood. That could be a state that I'm in, okay? Our traits don't just come and go, right? Our traits are more stable. Those things that make up our personality, not as easily changed as our state of mind, okay? So through some of these things, research has shown that half of our personality is genetic, the other half comes from our environment, okay? But there's 5 personality traits that have been shown to be more stable from childhood through adulthood, okay? And if you can kind of remember these 5, they're called the big traits, the 5 big traits, okay? And it's the ocean model is what you can remember. So ocean, the first one is openness to experience, okay? That's exactly what it sounds like. How open are you as a person to experiencing new things, new feelings, new adventures, unusual ideas? How imaginative are you? Okay? Most times that people are open to experiences, they're intellectually curious, and they're open to showing emotion and receiving emotion. And they're always willing to try new things, okay? So openness to experience. The next one is conscientiousness, okay? Conscientiousness is our ability for self-discipline. We act dutifully and we strive for achievement, even if there's outside things trying to stop us, okay? It's you know, it's almost stubborn to where, no, I'm going to do the right thing. Do the right thing, okay? Conscientiousness. They prefer planned things over spontaneous events, okay? So that's the O and the C. The E is the next, and that's extroversion. So we're going to talk a little bit more about being an extrovert, being an introvert later. The extroversion shows where you get your energy from, okay? Where do you get your energy from? Do you get it from outside sources? From a party? Here, Rachel, let's stop sharing the screen real fast. I'm going to put my video back on. The slides aren't changing. It's just me talking. If you want to see me being all animated, I'll do that for you. I'm reading the chat. Okay, so extroversion just shows where you like to get your energy from. Do you like to go to parties? Are you energized after being in a group of people? When you go talk to your classmates and you talk about something that's going to happen this weekend, do you get excited and fulfilled from that? Does it make you, energize and get more energy? Or does it drain it out of you? So extroverts get their energy from other people. They like exciting, loud parties, people, to where introverts, they need to go be by themselves and recharge alone. So alone time, reading a book, even just thinking about what's going on, trying to solve the problem, thinking about it by themselves, okay? That's what an introvert does. So of these first 5 big traits, openness to experience, conscientiousness, and extroversion, OCE. The next one is our A, and it's agreeableness. So you could say I'm a very agreeable person. I always like harmony. I always like for people to be happy. So we are working in a group and we're all trying to come together and be agreeable versus just the opposite, disagreeable. And we all know disagreeable people. Don't put the disagreeable person in your life on your chat, please. But we do know that we do have disagreeable versus agreeable, okay? And then the last one, it actually has 2 names, and later research actually calls it something different, but this one calls it neuroticism. Okay, so don't confuse neuroticism with being neurotic. It's it's kind of the same, but it's not a scale of how neurotic you might be. Okay, it is a scale showing your emotional stability. Okay, so you would have one end would be you're a very emotional, stable person versus an emotionally unstable person. So neuroticism, emotional stability, they're both used interconnectively. And all that's going to do is tell us that people, it's going to talk to us about how people react to situations that they're put forward. If you're emotionally stable, your reactions to things that are happening are usually more stable compared to others. And so we could use the example of a child. So everybody think of a 2 or 3-year-old that doesn't get their way and then they throw a big fit. We all know of those. Give me a yes over there if anybody has ever seen a little one throw a fit, right? So we would have to say they're probably not very emotionally stable, right? But as you get older, you usually learn some new skills to help yourself cope and to learn with some of those things. So the emotional stability of the big 5 is going to, kind of change over time. But studies show that people that are open to experiences and those that are high in conscientiousness, okay, both of those are predictors of success. So if you're open to experiences or conscientious of your actions, you're going to get to be a successful at whatever it is that you're wanting to do, okay? But they get to it at different times and in different ways. So that person that's open may be, they're the risk taker. They're the person that's the entrepreneurs that are starting the businesses that are taking all these risks. They're making quick decisions and they're moving on, right? Lots of those people are successful, okay? But somebody that is more conscientious and follows all the rules and works diligently to get what they desire. They set deadlines, they meet deadlines. You're still going to get to success at the end. They just get there in two completely different ways. But both of those, being high in open and conscientiousness, are both predictors of success. And before I move on, Miss Rachel is going to share a link with you. It's going to be in the chat. You don't have to do this right now. You can if you want. But it is a test that'll show you where you fall on these big 5 traits. So you can just take it on your own. You can do it now or later. It took 4 or 5 minutes for me to take it. It depends on how quick you want to be. Okay. Studies also show that there's a correlation between extroversion and agreeableness. Both of those traits are conducive to groups, okay? People that are agreeable, you know, they go with the flow, they want harmony, group projects are okay with them. There's not a lot of drama that comes with them, okay? And then those extroverts, we already talked about how extroverts, you know, they like those groups because that's how they're energized. That's how they work and work well with each other, is within a group. So extroversion and agreeableness are both traits that are conducive to working well with groups. Okay, so in these 5 big traits, we mentioned lots of other traits that make up a personality, right? Lots of personality things. So can y'all raise your hand on the thing? I don't know if you can or not. Okay. I don't know if you can raise your hand on there. I guess tell me in the poll over there. Are these traits that we've talked about, are they what make you you? Are they all you are? Can I say all the people that do this, they need to go over here in this group, and all these people that are like this need to go over here in this group, and that's how you're always going to be? And now I know how to work with this group over here because I know, you know, this one thing about them, right? So no is correct. No. Okay. There are these things called free traits. And I bet you have seen free traits in your world. You know somebody that never talks. And y'all know kids in your class that hardly ever talk or hardly ever say anything? Yeah? Anybody? You're that person, Katie? So somebody hardly ever talks, but then something happens and one day they're the loud person in the room, right? They're the person that everybody saw. There was a reason for that. That person was showing their free traits, okay? Usually there's some type of motive behind it. It could be something like, you know, somebody's sick and they need help right away. It could be, you know, just finding out that your mom or dad are really sick and you've got to get in at the doctor and nobody is listening to you. So you're showing some of those free traits that, you know, you just don't usually show on a normal day. Okay, so we all have those things and those times that we're, you know, out of character in some way. Okay, so you can't just put us all in these corners and say this is how you are, this is how you're going to act, because we all have the outside environments that are making our days and our state of mind change from day to day, which pull out, you know, where are we coming from with our personality, with our emotions, these kind of things. Okay, Miss Rachel, you can go back to sharing your slide. We're almost ready. I'm going to turn my video off. Okay, and I do want you to remember that these traits are going to change some as you get older. You're going to learn how to hone in on those skills to where you're able to control them more, or to you know, step out of your comfort zone to do something a little bit different. Some of these traits, y'all, are gender biased. Men are more apt to do one thing, you know, be one way and to think one way than a woman is. Your birth order, if you are, you know, the firstborn, the middle child, the baby, some of those things all do play into these traits that we all have. Y'all, culture will play a role in that. If you were in another country and then you moved, say, to here where we are in Texas, and you know the culture's different, so your personality and the things that how you behave may change after you move, okay? But with all of those things said, I want you to realize that all of these things are your natural tendencies, okay? Your natural tendencies. This is not something that you have a lot of control over, okay? So, Ms. Rachel's going to go to the next slide, and we're going to talk about, you all took the Myers-Briggs, and it used 4 different verses, I guess. I don't know what other words to use. Extroversion versus introversion, sensing versus intuition, thinking versus feeling, and judging versus perceiving. So we're going to talk about the differences in some of those. So let's start with extroversion and introversion. You'll change the slide. There's going to be a poll. If you will just tell us which way, were you an E or an I? Just let us know which one you were. And the reason I'm doing this is really for my own interest. I told you all ago that I found this stuff really interesting. And I do. I think it's cool to know how many of our group falls under the extrovert versus the introvert. Because we can do the study, you know, nationwide or worldwide of those that have taken this test to tell us. But I think it's neat to know, you know, we're all pretty much a 4-H audience. So, you know, are we more extroverted or less? And I like to do this type. You should see the poll on your screen, Amy. It should just be up in the middle. Okay. So I like to do this type project like what we're doing today with groups within your club, within your officers. You know, as adults, we've done them between coworkers. And even within friends, like we have discussions about this at game night with our friends because it helps us learn how to, you know, convince everybody that our way is the right way. So let's see. We have a little over 100. We're going to leave it a little bit longer to get more of it in. But y'all, we talked about extroverts and introverts a while ago. Extroverts, both of this is how do you get your energy? How do you get your, you know, how do you recharge your battery? So extroverts, just like we said a while ago, they like groups, they like people, they like talking to each other. They sometimes don't even finish their sentences. Yeah, she's gonna turn it off. Yep. They're the person that you know is in the room. Right? If you go somewhere, the extroverts are the ones you hear talking over everybody else, right? And they can talk about anything in the world, right? They like to talk through problem solving. They like to talk it out, right? It may not even make sense half the time, what we're saying, but they like that because that gives them the next idea. And then you talk a little more and you go to the next idea. You can share the results. Okay? They make quick decisions. You can share it.
It is.
Oh, okay. It doesn't show it on my screen. Sorry. So you can see where we ended up in our group. 47% extroverts, 54% introverts. Okay? So what does that tell us about our group? I can't see my chat anymore. I'm going to put my chat back up. So what do y'all think that tells us? I think it tells us we're pretty close to 50-50. Yep. Elijah, you said we're split. That's what I think we are. Okay. For the U.S. population, it's pretty split. 49.3% are extroverts and 50.7% are introverts. So we're pretty close, guys. Pretty close, pretty close. Okay? So over there on talking about our introverts, it's not always completely opposite of an extrovert, okay? But introverts need to be alone to recharge their batteries, okay? So if you're ever in a group somewhere, like let's say we go to camp, and, you know, there's somebody that's sitting off reading their book, okay? It doesn't mean that they're antisocial. It doesn't mean that they're shy. It doesn't mean that they're depressed. Okay, you can't put all of those words in to describe an introvert. It means that they have overloaded for the day and they can't handle any more of the extroversion that's out in the world, and they need to recharge, and they need to be alone in order to do that. Okay, so I see over there in the chat is can you be both? So yeah, it's called an ambivert. Okay, and it means that you're kind of 50-50, right way, you know, right down the middle for it. So newer studies have even shown that maybe there should be three: the extrovert, the ambivert, and the introvert. Okay, so introverts, though, you know, they need time to reflect. They need the time to think through whatever it is that's happening. Okay, and so as I'm now taking this in about extroverts and introverts, it's pretty obvious to me. Uh-oh, we just got kicked out. Are you still on? Mm-mm. Can y'all still see me?
It says I'm connecting.
Can you hear me? So I think it's Jana that got, okay, I think it was Miss Jana that got kicked out, not us. Okay, so y'all can see us, okay, good. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. My screen went completely white. Okay, so when I start thinking about extroverts versus introverts, okay, and just what we just said, it's pretty obvious to me that we live in an extrovert's world, right? Our schools, you know, nowadays they even put all kids in groups in elementary school. You're all sitting at a table together. You're doing group work all the time. You know, when we go to camp, think of the things that we do with camp. Everything is group this, group that, okay? The world is made for extroverts. If you've done any studies on, you know, large office settings, the layout, the floor plan of most businesses is made for extroverts, okay? So introverts are a vital part of our groups, of our workforce, of our friends, okay? They're vital, and we need to listen to them. But when we ask them a question and they reply to us, we can't stop them and interrupt them and say, you know, something else that came out of and I say we because I'm an extrovert. I'm pretty high up on that extrovert scale, okay? But I know I have to stop and say, can y'all see me? I think my camera's on. I have to stop myself from talking, okay? And listening to what they say, okay? A lot of times introverts need to reflect before talking, okay? So I think of that as if I'm in a group setting with my club officers, okay? We've already said we're 50-50, so half of us sitting at that table are going to be introverts. So they may be willing to give just as much input as the extrovert, but before they feel comfortable doing so, they want to reflect on whatever it is. So making split decisions about things to extroverts are really kind of hard to do, okay? So I think we need to think about those kind of things when we're working in groups with people. They are very creative. Introverts are very creative, but they need to be alone to go think about it. They need to go to the mountains and think through whatever it might be, okay? I have a coworker videoing me over here. Y'all can't see him because he's behind the camera, but he's videoing. Okay, so he's messing me up. So don't let somebody that's introverted, okay, scare you. There's more introverts in this session right here than what's extroverts. Just because the extrovert is the one talking the most doesn't always mean that their ideas are the best, okay? So let's remember that when we're in a group setting. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. Miss Rachel, are you out? Did you get knocked out?
I think I'm back in now, and you should be able to see it now.
Okay, she's coming back up. So we're just going to move on to the next one. Okay, it's sensing versus intuition. Okay, no, it's not. Mine's not up. I don't know if y'all's is up, but here it's coming now, Miss Rachel. Okay, so how do we process new information? That's all this part is about. When you get new information, how do you process it? Okay, if you're a sensor, you process that information by looking at the facts, and you use your 5 senses in order to do that. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you feel? Okay, concrete things that I can see. Okay, they notice details. They're practical. Okay, if you're on that sensing thing, you use what's physically there to make those decisions. Okay. And you know from experience how to take in things and how to do things. Because experience speaks louder than words for those sensors. Okay? Now, on the other side, we have intuitives. And intuitives, you know, they're almost the exact opposite of that. Imagine that, right? They are people that read between the lines. Okay? They like to think about abstract thoughts. They're almost always thinking about the future, you know? They don't want to really dwell on the past. They want to think about what could be. You know, what are the possibilities of whatever we could be doing? They like that thought process, the abstract thought. And they usually see the big picture. They don't get stuck on those little details. They see the big picture. Okay? So if you're a sensor, and you want to learn how to work better with somebody that's an intuitive, okay, then maybe try putting your question or your thought into the big picture and don't dwell on the details, okay? Try to give them the whole of what it is you want them to see, because they get overwhelmed. Intuitives get overwhelmed with too many details. You know, they like to see the possibilities. They don't really want to see the other stuff, okay? You know, share your vision and talk through it with some imagination, okay? That's how intuitives think. So if you're sensing, you know, talk through it with them. Let's use their imagination and you help engage that. And, you know, talk stories and metaphors and, you know, all those analogies to kind of communicate your needs, your actions, your wants, whatever it is. Okay? We're still polling. Let's let it keep polling a little bit longer. So if you haven't seen that poll up, were you an N or were you an S? If you'll tell us there. Okay? And if you are an intuitive person, how can you work better with sensors? Okay? And the way you do that is you break your thought down into details, smaller details, and say, this is what I want. You know, whatever your big picture is, take it down smaller for them. They like facts. They like examples. So be able to, when you come prepared to give those things to them. Okay? You know what else sensors like is they like a sequential thing. What are we going to do first? What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? They like the thought process that has been thought through. So Miss Rachel is telling me something and I can't tell her.
Let me have that last one, please.
Okay. She wants my mouse and keyboard. Something's not right on hers. Sorry, y'all. Okay. So they like practical ideas, real life experiences. Okay. So if I'm just looking, we're at about 115 people that have polled, and we are sitting at 59% intuitive and 41% sensing. Okay. 51 to 49. And what I'm going to tell you is that we're not a group, because in the world, in the U.S., 70, I can't make it out because it's too small, 72.3% are sensors. They're sensing types, okay? So we're opposite. We're heavy intuitives up in this group, right? 73% of the United States falls on the sensing side of the scale, okay? And somebody in the chat a while ago asked, can you be both in this one? Of course you can, y'all. This is kind of like a scale of one end is going to be over here and one end is going to be over here, and we're going to have people all in between. And y'all, I can be heavy on the intuitive side, which is kind of where I fall personally. I fall heavy onto the intuitive side, but I can show lots and lots of traits that actually fall in the sensing side of it also. Okay, so everybody is going to show some or the other, whichever way it might be. So again, like I said earlier, there's no right or wrong, good or bad of where you fall on this. This is your natural tendency. Okay, and if you can look at your natural tendencies and know this about yourself, it's going to help you be able to work with other people better. And just on a personal note here, if I had not taken this test quite a few times and I was just reading the traits that make up sensors versus intuitives, I would tell you all day long that I'm a sensor. Like I think I do those things. I use things I know, I use facts, I use what I see to make decisions. That's me. But every time I take this test, I fall into the intuitive side and heavy in the intuitive side. It's not even close to the middle. So that one question, if you did take that 3-question survey, it asks, do you think you fit where you, with what your results said? Most of mine I do. When I read that stuff, yeah, it fits. And when I start reading all the stuff about intuitives, sure, I can see myself there. But I would tell you all day long, I think I should be a sensor. And I'm not. I'm an intuitive. Okay? So just remember, there's no right or wrong, and everybody falls on the scale somewhere or another. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is, I think I made a mess of my paper here, guys. But next is thinking or feeling. Okay, and what that asks us, can you move that? Oh, she's using it. I'm sorry. Okay, is, you know, how do you make decisions and come to conclusions? If she's got the poll back up, if you don't mind taking it, let's see where you fall, where our room falls. Okay, if you fall on the thinking side, you know, it's again kind of like that sensor. You look at the basic truths, the logical explanation, the details, the facts, okay? You like to analyze. You're going to make the pros and the cons of going. We're going to go to Colorado on vacation. What are the pros of it? What are the cons of it? Okay? You're logical and fair, consistent. You feel the same way about everybody, okay? You try not to let feelings come into play and influence whatever those decisions are, the conclusions that you come to where feelers, total opposite, they take what people care about. They read the room, you know, that's going to help them make their decision. What do they feel about it? They're concerned with values. They like harmony. They're very tactful. These are the people that are never going to say anything ugly in a group setting. Okay? You know, you've asked 2 people. I have 2 kids. I swear one of them's a thinking and one of them's a feeler. Because I can ask the same question to those 2 kids and I get completely different answers. Well, completely different types of answer. They say the same thing. I can ask one of them, you know, is it cold in here? Yes, it's freezing. That's what I get. Yes, it's freezing. Okay. Out of the other one, I'm going to get, well, it might be cold to some people, but it's really not cold to everybody. And they just kind of skirt around whether or not it's cold in the room. Okay. So those are your feelers. Okay. They're your caring, warm, always tactful people. Let's pull our poll back up, Miss Rachel, so we can see how we fell. All right, so we were 50, almost 50-50. Look at that. It actually is 50-50. Which, yep, in this nationwide, this is in the United States, 40% of the population are thinkers and 60% are feelers. Okay, so again, we're an odd group. I don't know what it is about our oddness that's coming out. And we're going to move on to the last one. And this is perceiving versus judging. Okay? Don't let this judging word confuse you with these people are judgmental. It's not. They're not judgmental at all. Don't let that word make you think that way. It's how do you approach the outside world? Okay? That's what this is doing. How do you live your day-to-day life? Okay? Judgers, y'all, they're very structured. These people are the ones that are making the to-do list every day and marking stuff off. Okay? That's your judgers. Some judgers are even so structured that they might have done something that wasn't on their list. They'll add it to the list just to mark it off. Just to say that, oh, I did that too. Okay? They're very self-disciplined. They're decisive. Okay? They know what has to get done. They work. It's done. There's not a whole lot of procrastination that goes on. They're going to plan it. They're going to organize it. Those are the judgers. Now, perceivers, on the other hand, they don't like that word structure at all. They don't make hotel reservations when they go anywhere. They're going to go on vacation for 7 days, and they're going to be the ones that get in the car and just drive and stop whenever they feel like it. Okay? Those are our perceiving types. They don't want to make choices unless they absolutely have to. Okay? They're tolerant people. Okay? And they're the ones that think work and play can combine and come together to where judgers, no, all business. Okay? But if you are a judger, if you're in the judging category, how can you work better with those perceivers? Okay? So know that they're going to ask you questions. Okay? You're going to have to be able to answer those questions. Encourage them to ask those questions. Help you make the decision. I can't see what the chat is. Do you want to see it?
Right now.
I can see it blinking.
What is the term for both?
I don't know on this one. Not going to lie. And I did a lot of research. I didn't see any on this one. You can fall down the middle, but I don't know that the psychology world has claimed it as something. So perceivers, if you're a judger and you're working with perceivers, you need to offer opportunities, examples. Let them discuss things to be able to get what you want out of them. They'll give you their feedback. They'll give you information, but you have to be able to ask for it and give it. Okay? If you're a perceiver, though, working with those that fall in the judging category, you're the ones that kind of have to do a little more work, in my opinion, because you have to offer them information in a timeline, and you have to stick to it. Landon raised his hand. I see Landon.
Mm-hmm.
Landon, you want to type your question in the chat? I'm going to keep going over here on the judging stuff, though. Judgers have to prepare. They don't like going in all willy-nilly doing things. They like to be prepared for things. Okay? So you, as a perceiver, you have to give them time to do so. Okay?
Didn't mean to.
Oh, okay. Good. I just didn't want to miss your question. Okay? So you have to be organized and efficient in whatever it is that you're trying to convince those judgers to do to help you. Okay? So our results in our room here, we've got 47% perceiving and 55% judging. And y'all, that's almost identical. First time, we're not weird on this one, because nationwide it's 54% judging and 46% perceiving. So we did pretty good on that one. Okay? Now that you either fall on one way or another, and just in case you ever wanted to do something like this topic with, your club or whatever it might be, when I do this in person, I like to make everybody get up, and all those that were judgers go to one side of the room, and all those that were perceiving type go to the other side of the room. That way you can see each other. And then when you talk about some of the characteristics that make up these different traits, then you can see those things in those people. Oh yeah, you are like that, aren't you? And it's just it's a way to actually make your mind see the differences just in your personality. Like I say, there's not one group that's more than the other, that's better. There's no good, there's no bad. It just tells us where we fall, okay? So you all took the test, and we're going to go in through some of those things. So the first one is an ESTP. So if you're an ESTP, give us something over in the chat box just so we know it's you. ESTP. I gotta find you. There we are. These are in order. I did number them. Will you get these back in order for me, Miss Rachel? Sorry, y'all. I threw all my stuff around. Okay, so what I did was, if you took that survey at the beginning, I'm going to use those results since we can't use the one that we've got. So I'm going to use, it's about noon. There was 128 people that had taken the survey at that point. So of the ESTPs, we had 3.1% of us in the room were ESTP. Okay, and nationwide, 4.3% is an ESTP. So we're a little lower in that one. But these people, if you will, can I have my mouse real quick? If you will tell me, these were the words that you put in for your, in that survey, these are the words that you put in that described you if you were an ESTP. I'm going to attempt to put this chat back up where I can see it.
You can't because you're sharing your screen.
Oh, and yours is out?
I have it over here, but
You
there's no.
pull it over here. Is there nothing in? Give me some words. That's what I want. Give me, I may not have time, actually, looking at the thing. So doers, these people are doers. They're loyal, they're impatient, friendly, risk takers. Some careers that actually make, come up under doers a lot. Doesn't mean that this is what you should do. It just means that a lot of these type fall into this category. Paramedics or firefighters, sales reps, optometrists, marketing professionals, stockbrokers, contractors. All of those are jobs that fit up underneath the doer. And do you see that these words actually fit? Impatient is one of the words over there that was on this one, and impatient is one that y'all used to describe yourself in this one. So we'll go to the next one, and that is an ESTJ. So ESTJ, find ESTJ. Y'all, there's not one. Believe it or not. Is there one? Tell me on the chat. Did one come in after it? Because there is not a single ESTJ that filled out the survey, which is really funny because on this one, it shows that 8.7% of the population is this, and we have
one.
We do have one. Yay,
Exactly,
yay.
great.
All right, so we do have one. Awesome. Okay, but that's going to be a less than 1% of our little poll that we did here, and nationwide, 8.7% of the population is an ESTJ. So these people are athletic. They take charge, loyal, hardworking. They have a vision. They know what they want. And some of the careers that fall under this one might be a teacher, project manager, school administrator, factory supervisor, an executive, military officer, bank officer, insurance agent, okay? Those are some of the careers that fall up underneath it. Let's look at some of the words y'all used for
ESFP.
ESFP, ESTJ. Sorry.
There was not any ESTJs except for Zachary.
Okay. Okay. So we go on to ESFP. How many of us were ESFPs? See, this is what happens when I have too many pieces of paper. ESFP. 2.3% of us were ESFPs. 8.5% of the U.S. population is an ESFP. Okay? Those are our performers. Common sense, people-oriented, fun-loving, center of attention. What words did y'all use for ESFP? Yeah, crazy, fun-loving, outgoing. Yep, I think that falls. Some of the career would be childcare worker, sales rep, travel agent, receptionist or secretary, respiratory therapist, something to do with people. That's where that one falls. Okay, our next one, ESFJ, caregivers. They're helpful, interested in serving others, popular, conscientious, responsible, dutiful. Okay, ESFJ within our group, we were at 11.7% of us were that one. That was one of the higher ones in our group. 12.3% of the population is actually an ESFJ. So it comes out being, we're pretty close on that one within our group. Some of the words that ESFJs used: confident, attentive, smart, mother, courageous, truthful, upfront. Yeah. I like that one. That's probably my favorite one so far, the words that are used for this one. I would say that describes this one pretty good. ENFPs, inspirers. Okay, ENFPs are energetic, flexible, open-minded, idealistic, creative. Okay, some careers might be a journalist, a character actor, a counselor, a teacher, a musician, a photographer. Some of the arts kind of fall into that one. So the words that you use to describe yourselves: energetic, social, extrovert, outgoing, kind. So definitely people person falls into that one also. Okay, so I can't see the chat, but
Everyone's agreeing. With
yeah, okay. So if I don't really care which way you do it, but I want you to tell me what you are and like what your 4 letters were, and tell me something that stood out to you when you read your, it impacted you in some way. Just see if you can give me that. No matter what your type was. I don't want to run out of time before we give this a try. So tell me what stood out to you as it was a aha moment for you. And then I want you to tell me something that was very surprising about it. Okay, and you can do it in 2 different messages if you want. But something that's, something that surprised you, maybe it was a negative that you hadn't really thought about, or whatever you feel it might be. Okay. So ENFJs, FJs, better not call them a G. ENFJs, they're givers. Okay, popular, sensitive, ambitious, forward-thinking, optimistic. Okay, outstanding people skills. Let's look at some of the words that y'all used. Leader, determined, enthusiastic, competitive, empathetic. Look at that one. And that's one of the bigger words, which means it was on there multiple times. Encouraging. Yeah, I think that pretty much fits a giver for sure. Some jobs that might be suited for a giver would be, a doctor, a teacher, trainer, a clergyman, a priest, entertainer, actor, writer. This one was all over the place in the list of
There's
careers.
quite a few people saying that theirs were very accurate, and it was pretty surprising.
It's scary accurate sometimes even. I know even mine is. I told you the sensing and judging thing. I'm sorry, sensing and totally just went the other way. Thinking thing and intuitive, sensing and intuitive. And it is right on when I read it, but I would tell you all day long I should be on the sensing side. ENTPs. The visionaries. Did I tell us how many of us are caregivers? Givers, ENFJ, I don't think I did. ENFJ, because this was one of the strange things that I thought came up with our statistics here. Of our population, 11.7 of us came in the ENFJ. Okay? 11.7. Y'all, this is the third, 2.5% of the population is this. So it's on the lower end of it. And ours was the 3rd highest, 11.7% ENFJs, which was odd to me to see that one fall like that. So let's go to the next one. For the ENTP, the visionaries, they're curious, clever, intellectual, logical. They're inspired innovators. These are our thinkers, outspoken, assertive. So let's look at some of the words y'all use, and y'all, I think it fits pretty well. Brainstormer, stubborn, argumentative, strong-willed, extroverted. Yeah. So those words those fall under your intellectual, logical side. You know, you can't see that other side. You may not be truly argumentative, but you're stubborn and strong-headed, and you don't want to see their way because this is how it is, because it's the only logical way for it to be. Just lots of those words fit really well into this.
So to answer some questions, we had someone ask when the words were done, you had to do the survey and put 3 words that you would describe yourself as. And then also we will be sending the PowerPoint out.
Yeah. And y'all, those words, that's the one that closed it at noon today. So if you weren't able to go in, this is what you weren't able to put in, were these 3 words to describe yourself. But jobs for the visionary would be, you know, politicians, strategic planners, market researchers, sales managers, analysts, those kind of positions. So next is our ENTJ, and those are our executives. They're great public speakers. They take charge in a group. They're strategic in their leading. They're going to find a solution to whatever this is going to be. Okay? ENTJs in the U.S. population make up, I can't fix that. I don't know. Do I know how? 1.8% of the population. I don't know how to make it go away. Okay, 1.8% of the population, to where in our group, we're at 3.9%. Okay, so 3.9% of us here are ENTJs. And some words that we used, unemotional, driven, extroverted, leader, assertive, analyst, competitive, selfless. All those fit perfect. So some jobs for an executive might be investment brokers, business consultants, attorneys, judges, franchise owner. You know, maybe you take some risks there. Let's see if it'll let me erase. Look at that, I figured it out. Okay, so next one is going to be our duty fulfiller, our ISTJ. So ISTJ make up 11.6 of the U.S. population. In our group here, we're at 7.8%. 7.8%, okay? But the duty fulfillers, you know, they're well organized, hardworking, serious, quiet, responsible, dependable, right? They're dutiful. This is my duty. This is what I'm supposed to do for you. And now let's look at some of the words you used. Diligent, dependable, logical, realistic, tech savvy, emotionless, listening, loud, thinker. Yep. All those things fit. Some jobs that might work for a duty fulfiller would be, you know, a veterinarian, a steel worker, police, detective, military officer, estate planner. Some things that take conviction to do. So we'll move on to the mechanic, the ISTP. The ISTP makes up 5.4% of the U.S. population. And in our little group here, we're at 3.1%, 3.1, okay? So the mechanics, they're very analytical, okay? They like to think through things. Excellent mechanical skills. They're quiet and reserved, independent, spontaneous, so detached, right? They might be a little detached from the group if they're a mechanic. Let's look at some of the words y'all used. Logical, creative, observant, honest. Yep, shy. Maybe that's the introverted side coming out for the I. And some jobs that might fit well under this one: construction worker, a pilot, computer specialist, banker, park ranger, farmer, security officer. Lots of different things. Nurturers, that's your ISFJ. ISFJ makes up 13.8% of the U.S. population and 12.5% of our group here. 12.5%, okay? So nurturers, they're quiet, kind, conscientious, trustworthy, they're loyal caretakers, okay? And they like to serve. So let's look at the words that y'all used: caring, observant, reliable. serious, indecisive. I don't know about indecisive, but maybe. Kind, okay? So all of those, most of those fit in a nurturer kind of a thing. Some jobs that might work out for this would be a doctor, nutritionist or dietitian, teacher, librarian, nurse, eye doctor is even listed. Okay, so the next one is an ISFP, and that is our artists. Pretty much, they have all kinds of talents for all the arts. They're cheerful, friendly, quiet, warm, open-minded, flexible. So let's look at some of the words. I'm going to look up our thing here, ISFP. This one was the one that was strange to me, a little bit strange, because 8.8% of the U.S. is an ISFP, but our little group here, 2.3%. So we're a good bit lower in this one, 2.3%. Yeah, I don't even know what time it is, Josh, to tell you if it's supposed to end at 2.
It's 2.
I mean, it's that it goes to a next one.
Kristy,
Okay.
I know what we can do is you can share the rest of your slides. We can send them out via PDF. That
Okay.
way we can go ahead and get started with the next session.
Yeah.
Those of you
Yeah.
who have questions, I'll make sure you get Kristy and Rachel's email. They can continue to answer questions that way. Like I said, we apologize we're having to cut y'all short, but
That's
we
okay.
do want to go ahead and get started with our next presenters.
Yep, no, thanks for having us, and thanks for interacting with us as much as we could. INFJ, good question. I'll get that one. INFJ, this one was weird, 14%.
If you have questions, like Janice said, you'll definitely still be able to reach out to us, especially if it's pertaining to your specific result.
And y'all, the INFJ was the really weird one. Our group was 14%. U.S. population is only 1.5%. So we definitely were heavy on that one.
Kristy, I can go ahead and share a link in a Q&A room if you and Rachel want to jump over in that. Those that want to go over to that room and continue asking questions, I'll get that room open and then we
That's
can
fine.
get started with the next one. But
Yeah,
you'll
that's
see
fine.
Wednesday Q&A room popped into the chat. And like I said, I'll get that set up and then y'all two should be able to jump over there. There's no waiting room and then y'all can continue asking questions or finishing the presentation.
Yep, we'll do that. If anybody wants to come, just come on in, 4%. So it just said connecting to cloud. It was really kind of weird. I don't know what that error was. But so a little bit off, maybe not quite as off as we were on some of those others within our stuff, but INTJ careers may be, you know, computer programmers, college professors, lawyers, scientists, architects, strategic planners. And from the words y'all used to describe your personality, I think you would fit into that, into any of those jobs really well. So now the last one is our thinkers. So they're INTP, okay? And it could be more than one, but when we did this at noon, there was one INTP in our group. So it wasn't even 1% of the population. In the US population, it was 3.3%. So we had two pretty rare ones.
Oh, it says it was Heather Harris.
Oh, she's in the room?
Yeah.
How fun, Heather. Very fun. So we only had the one INTP, and we had the one that we found out after the fact, ESTJ, in there. And 3.3% of the population is an INTP, Heather. So some, let's see, those objective, enthusiastic,
Oh,
smart.
it's Heath, not Heather.
I'm sorry, Heath, I can't see it at all. Blame Miss Rachel.
No. What?
The jobs, the careers that might be good for a thinker would be computer programmers, researchers, lawyer, mathematician. Heath, do you like math? Is he there?
Yes.
Yes. See, that's fun how that works out. College professors. A lot of those come into this this type, personality type. So we can we could go on and keep talking, or if you have questions, that's what I've been looking at. That's where I got my data from, just so y'all know, and it's really not very clear, but it is the best I could find. That actually had up-to-date data on it. So did any of you take that Big 5 personality trait thing while we were in the room? Nobody took that one yet? It was a pretty neat one. We didn't find it till after 12 o'clock today. Kaylee took it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we just found it after 12 o'clock today, so didn't know it existed. So us here in the office took it, and it's pretty accurate with our percentages. And it doesn't call the neuroticism one that word. It calls it emotional stability, which fits. But it was a pretty good one to do. And then another link that Miss Rachel's going to put into the chat for you is another cool thing that's kind of neat to see is what celebrities or what famous people or people in history or popular people right now in our world, where do any of them have the same personality type as you? So there's a link she's going to put in there, and you have to go to test types, I believe. Yeah. Test types, and it'll tell you. Let's see.
Hang on.
Yeah, go to types. Isn't that second thing right there? Yep. Go to types when you get there, and it just lists out all 16 of these personalities, and you can look and see. Like I say, there's people in famous people in history, pop culture people that you can go see. So it was really pretty neat to be able to see some of those things also. Oh, are you sharing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can y'all see her sharing that?
Not yet.
Oh. Can you see that the IDR labs and all those types there? And that's all it does is open up and list you famous people. So Miss Rachel, I'm an ENFJ. Let's see who all is an ENFJ. Anybody else in the room an ENFJ? There's quite a few of us. Kaylee, what were you? Let's look up your famous people. Shane. Keith, what were you? Is he still in? I can't tell.
Kaylee was an INFP.
Okay. Oh, she was the one that was the, yeah. Right below you. Go down. Right there.
Where?
INFP or INFJ? You said P.
INFJ, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So that's who she's.
Oh, Plato, Mahatma Gandhi, Carl Jung. So Carl Jung is actually the guy that started a lot of these types, the extrovert, introvert. All that's based on his science. All of this is based on things that he did. His studies. Oh, Leo Tolstoy. Mm-hmm. Very cool. And go down, I think there's popular people, like if there's a new section. Yeah, I don't think those are very popular. That row.
There you go. Popular culture.
There we go. Oh, Marilyn Manson, David Fincher, Al Pacino, Edward Norton. Is it bad that I don't know some of these
Joan
people?
said I'm an ISTP. One of their famous people was Vladimir Putin.
Fun. Keep going, see if there's some more. Bad that I don't know a lot of these people.
I know Michelle Pfeiffer and Kate Blanchett.
I'm not up on popular culture, obviously. Go to the, which one was Joe on? ISTP. Right there. Cool, self-contained problem solvers.
Steve
Ooh.
Jobs.
Fun. Dalai Lama. There's Vladimir Putin. Yeah. I wonder why
I think the ones that are in black are infamous.
Is that what it is?
Because the other one, Hitler was in black. So I'm thinking
okay.
those are
Okay.
infamous.
Gotcha. Oh, Clint Eastwood. It's bad. I don't know these people. Oh, I know
Christian
some more of
Bale.
these. Oh, I know all 4 of those. Very fun. See, I would not have put Tom Cruise and Harrison Ford in the same personality type ever. Indiana Jones and
Scarlett Johansson,
I
she's
just
one of my
wouldn't.
favorites.
just wouldn't put them there. Very fun. Okay, you guys, do y'all have any questions for us or anything that if not, I appreciate your time and jumping over with us. It was fun. I hope we didn't bore you too much. It's actually pretty interesting. If you're into this kind of stuff, there's lots of different, like I say, rabbit holes that you can get down and learn all kinds of fun stuff. But it really does help you when you're working with other people. It lets you see those differences and how to kind of influence them in a way. Yeah, yeah. You like the jazz, huh? I was looking at mine last night and I don't remember any of them being ones like, oh, I'm just like them. Didn't see it at all. Were any of y'all the ones that didn't think you fit into your personality, into what type it gave you? There were, it was like 7% of us that said that. I was kind of surprised that many. Was it any of you? I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah, I think we're down to 4.
All right. I appreciate y'all here.
His was spot on.
Cool. Mine was after I read it. I would still tell you I should be a censor instead of intuitive. Well, thank y'all. If you have any other questions, we will sure answer them. You've got my email. I emailed all of you with your stuff for these links. So thank you very much. Close this.